right now, a federal appeals court just blocked the construction of President Trump's 90,000 square foot ballroom. They say the project needs congressional approval. CBS News Justice reporter Jake Rosen is here with that update. And Jake, what else are the judges saying about this?
Well, they said the obvious, which is that no president ever has attempted to use this funding mechanism that President Trump has tried to use to do this work. It's explicit in federal law, this appeals panel said in a 2-1 decision, that Congress must authorize any kind of funding to renovate not just the White House grounds, but any federal property that it reaches the level of either kind of a Smithsonian museum, any kind of government building, and that President Trump's move to just demolish the East Wing with little notice and claim that they're going to build a massive ballroom using not just taxpayer money potentially, but also private donations that President Trump has received from corporations for the last 18 months plus of his presidency is unlawful. We saw a lower court judge earlier this year block this, and it got sent briefly to an appellate court, which bounced it back. Upon both readings and both kind of sets of arguments we heard on this, the lower court judge said that simply the funding mechanism that was used was unlawful and that Congress must mandate any kind of major renovation and overhaul of this. There has been no momentum in Congress to do this. We should point out this has been one of President Trump's biggest passion projects of his administration, to do this and say that he needs some kind of massive space, not just hold events, but to keep him safe. He's argued that because the White House security bunker is underneath parts of the East Wing, and that's currently being renovated right now, that the ballroom needs to be completed. The construction work had been ongoing up until this decision, and for the next 14 days, the government can appeal, but if they choose not to, afterwards the construction will have to stop, and there'll have to be some kind of plan, Mugo, to move forward with this in Congress and get some kind of congressional funding. President Trump has wanted this done by the end of his term. Seems very unlikely now that that's going to happen.
Jake, I want to go back to what you mentioned earlier because I'm trying to understand this. So in the meantime, construction can't continue, even though much of it has been demolished. So it's just going to sit there until we figure out the next step?
It's one of the most interesting things of covering this Justice Department and what the Trump administration has done across D.C. is how the Trump administration has taken action first. There have been a number of lawsuits seeking to slow or stop construction or demolition of whether it's the East Wing and the reflecting pool, which we've covered intensely over the last couple of weeks. That these attempts, sometimes judges say it's simply too late. And in this case, the judge said that the construction is unlawful ongoing and that the demolition was fully unlawful. That just doing this, bringing the construction crews in, not having a fair process, using congressional allocations to have federal bids on this project simply was just unlawful. We should point out, too, that this federal judge, there was a federal judge appointed by President Trump to this panel who sided with the Trump administration in their arguments, saying that the group that brought this suit had no legal standing to do so, and that the judges are accusing them essentially of activism and intruding in something that they shouldn't, because President Trump, as he has for the last year plus, has asserted that there needs to be some kind of ballroom built to host bigger events, potentially even in an inauguration one day, Mugo, that should simply be all it takes to get to this point upon judicial review. However, two of this judge's colleagues disagreed. It's likely this goes to the Supreme Court, although President Trump and his legal team can ask, and at the Justice Department, can ask the full federal appeals court here in D.C. to rehear arguments. Certainly just going to slow down a process that President Trump has wanted to be sped up, because we should point out that after the White House Correspondents' Dinner attack and the attempted assassination on President Trump's life, he renewed his push alongside soon-to-be full-time Attorney General Todd Blanche to kind of build this structure, calling for it to be built. And it seems that many of the court filings in this case have been written essentially by President Trump, using a lot of the words that he's used and using politically charged language for why this is necessary.
Oh boy, we'll see how this plays out. Jake Rosen, thank you so much for your reporting.